So the topic allotted to me was TNM staging working towards the ninth edition. I have no disclosures. Let's start with an illustrative case scenario. There's a 63-year-old male office employee who is a chronic smoker with a smoking index of 700, which is equivalent to 35 pack years if you take Western standards. Presents with pain in the right shoulder and the right upper limb for 6 months and swelling of face for the past 2 months. Clinical evaluation reveals a Pankos syndrome and superior varing cable obstruction. And if you can see the CT scan here, this is the mass, which is 4.2 by 3.7 centimeters in the right apex. And you have 2R and 4R lymph nodes, which are the ipsilateral mediastinal lymph nodes. And the image guided biopsy from this mass reveals non-small cell lung cancer with strong P40 positivity on immunohistochemistry, making it a squamous cell histological type. So the question is, what is the TNM stage? Would you classify it as T3 N2 M0, or would you classify it as T4 N2 M0? Because we know by the dictum which has been taught to us that anything which has a SVC syndrome is a T4 lesion. So I know this is not live, so people cannot really reply. Hence, I will move forward. So if you look at the staging manual, it says that if you have vocal cord paralysis from right recurrent laryngeal nerve involvement or superior cable obstruction or compression of trachea or esophagus, this can be due to the direct extension of the primary tumor or to lymph node involvement. If it is due to direct extension of the primary tumor, only then is it classified as a T4. If the tumor is peripheral and the vocal cord paralysis or the SVC is because of the presence of N2 disease, it should be classified as such. So in this case, there is bulky mediastinal lymph node which are causing the SVC, not the primary tumor. And for staging purposes, it remains N2 and the T stage is actually T3 and not T4. And therefore, this is a T3 N2 M0. But the story does not end here. Do we know whether the survival from SVC obstruction or recurrent laryngeal nerve palsy differs if it is caused by the primary tumor versus if it is caused by the nodal disease? We don't. And so in my talk, I'll talk about the staging issues. Firstly, introduction. Secondly, the potential lacunae at the 8th TNM. And third, a little bit about the individual T, N, and M descriptors. So this is the staging manual for thoracic oncology, the 8th edition, the editor of which was Dr. Raman Rami Porta, the past chairperson of the staging committee. Just a quick recap, we all know that stage descriptor means look at T, which is tumor or the local spread, N or the regional lymph node spread, and M, which is the distant spread. And then you have various combinations of T, N, and M descriptors to form the stage groups from 1 to 4. Treatment decisions are typically based on stage groups, but you have to sometimes factor in the individual T, N, and M descriptors also. And this is a summary of the individual, entire TNM stage grouping from T1A to T4, N0 to N3, and from M1A to M1C. And as you can see, you go from 1A1 to 4B, which is the highest. And obviously, the purpose of this is to prognosticate. And as you can see, the survival in the 8th TNM, the best survival is for 1A1 disease, and the worst is for 4B. This is true whether you look at clinical staging or pathological staging, and this ranges from 92% 5-year survival down to 0% 5-year survival for 4B. And a similar big difference if you look at the pathological staging. But there are potential lacunae in the 8th TNM, and this is largely related to heterogeneity of data. So this was presented by Dr. Frank Ditterbeck, who is a surgeon from the US. And this was during our last meeting at the Staging and Prognostic Factors Committee at Barcelona last year, 2019. So as you can see, if you look at the database, for the T descriptors, most of the data is from pathological staging. However, for nodal disease, it is mostly from clinical. And for metastatic, there's only a small number of patients which are all clinical, which is obvious. If you look at the group descriptions, the majority is still pathological data, and a smaller number is clinical data. So there is heterogeneity both for TNM descriptors and for the groups. Now, if you look at how these cases were contributed during this 10-year period of the 8th database, you can see that Japan contributed in spurts. 99, then after a 3-year gap, another spurt of cases, and then another spurt of cases, and then nothing after that. And then there were people who were very regular, contributing regularly throughout this time period, and then another spurt by another institution in between. So there has been a lot of heterogeneity. What is the implication? The implication is that in addition to this heterogeneity, we have heterogeneity because these data come from consortia, from registry, surgical series. You have multimodality treatments, most commonly being surgical, 58%, but also 30% received chemo, and a much smaller percent received radiation. And then breakdown area-wise, mostly from Europe and Asia, and a very small contribution from North America or South America or Australia. Histological type, obviously, mixture of adeno, squamous, and other cell types. But the thing is, there has been significant variation in this survival based upon the area from which data was submitted. So as you can see, for N0, N1, or N2, based upon from where the data was submitted, there was differences in survival. Similarly, we know that there have been major improvements in survival between the 7th database and the 8th database. And if you look at 5-year survival rates for all stages, whether it is clinical or pathological, the 8th TNM, which is represented by the yellow bars, had much better survival than the green. And that is clear cut right throughout. Now, if you go on to the T descriptors, we know, I mean, if you have 2 lesions with a mixed GGO and solid components, we know that the size of the component is the same, but the GGO component is different. So should they be assigned the same T stage or different? Because it's typically the solid component which contributes to T staging. Now, if you have interlobal pleural invasion, it is currently classified as T2A based on the concept that interlobar PL3 or interlobal pleural invasion is not an invasion to an adjacent structure or an organ. But it has been seen that survival and interlobar invasion is actually similar to that of T3 disease. So should parietal pleural invasion be considered same as interlobal pleural invasion? We don't know. And that is one of the things which is going to be studied. Now, lot of...
Dr. Navneet?
Hello?
Dr. Navneet, we have only 3 minutes left. So please, if you can manage the time.
Okay, so
we have only 3 minutes.
But we started quite late. So a lot of things about N descriptors, and the direct extension of primary tumor is classified as lymph node metastasis, and in any other than regional it is classified distant mets. So this is the lymph nodal map. Now there have been some ambiguous borders in the CT. Most importantly, the lymph node station 1 includes both supraclavicular and infraclavicular disease. And there are other N descriptors which are of importance to surgeons. This was presented by Dr. Vatanbe again at the meeting, and a lot of these things are very important to consider. In the interest of time, I'll skip these. But the important thing is, if you compare N1A, which is a single N1 station, N1B, multiple N1 stations, single N2 station without N1 called skip N2, single N2 station with N1, and multiple N2 stations, you look at the survival is different. And so the best is for us N1 single followed by single N2, and then multiple N1, then single N2 with N1, and then multiple N2. But they will be more studied in the 9th. And then for metastatic, if you have presence of both pleural and pericardial effusion, does it have worse survival than only either of the two? If you have effusion present but not aspirated, can you classify it as malignant? If you have an exudative effusion with 1 or 2 cytology negatives, what do you do with that? And does the size, number of metastatic lesions, and the sites of metastasis matter or not? And then there are optional descriptors like lymphatic invasion, venous invasion, and residual tumor invasion, which are used after surgical resection, but they are optional. There is also something known as lymphangitis, which we wrote a letter a few years back, can be clubbed or believed to be the same as the nodules, the Weiwitz club nodules. Again, this is something which is being studied. And the main aim is that currently the TNM is purely anatomic with more relevance for early stages. But we also know that EGFR, ALK, and other things are relevant in metastatic setting and advanced setting. So the aim is to have a better system which is applicable for both anatomic and better for both early stage and late stage, and incorporates both the anatomic and the biological variability. And simultaneously, we are moving to a concept of essential TNM where even if you don't have all the data, you can still qualify it as distant, regional extensive, regional limited, localized advanced, localized limited. And this is the proposal how to go about it. But this is all work in progress, and accurate staging means accurate treatment. Accurate staging means potential resectable patients getting surgery and lives saved, and therefore the ISLC has given a call for participation. And I'm pleased to announce we are the first center in South Asia to contribute cases to this database, and it's a very comprehensive data entry. Takes at least 30 to 45 minutes for each entry, and ultimately we aim to have all green and no queries at the end of data entry. And ultimately, I'd like to say this is a multidisciplinary approach, and I'd like to thank all the people whom I've been working with during this time period.